once again, good friends. I'm Brian from Apex Detail. When it comes to polishers for beginners, entry-level polishers that you just head out to the store, pick one up, grab a few pads, head on home, and get right to it. The pickings are really starting to get slim. Harbor Freight, which is the Chicago electric, which I used to recommend to beginners, those just starting to take care of their own car or expand services in their own business. But they're actually going to be replaced by Bauer at Harbor Freight. So we no longer have that luxury. At a price of $79, it was a great way to get started. So where do we go from there? We're going to take a look at a polisher that I now recommend for entry level, just to start, get your feet wet when it comes to polishing and enhancements. It's a little bit more expensive, but I am familiar with the polisher and I know it's quality made. We're going to take a close look. We're going to tear it down. I'm going to show you how to use it. Let's get going. The Griot Garage 6-inch random orbital polisher is a great way to start to take care of your own car, or if you're starting your own detailing business and you want to expand from just basic bumper-to-bumper cleanings, take that first step to paint enhancements or even go beyond to one-step corrections. 8mm throw, 850 watts, so it has the right features to get things started. $149 for this unit here. This has the 10-foot cord. You can get one with a 25-foot cord for $20 more. Again, 8mm throw, 850 watts, 680 orbits per minute. It has the domed rubber grip, 6-speed variable dial, which clicks and gives tactile feedback every half click, so you can go 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and it locks in there along with the guard here that it would take a substantial bump or rub up against it to get it to switch gears or switch speed while you're operating the unit. Okay, for the closer look segment of the video, let's take a look at the features of the polisher. The nylon casing, I couldn't find a number on it, but the way it feels, I'm just going to take a guess that it is a 30% glass fiber, which is decent. I don't see any sloppiness when it comes to the edges of the casing, so it's quality material and quality made as well. When it comes to the thumb switch here, decent tactile feedback, but as you can see, it can easily be bumped and power off accidentally. This will be attached to a nylon arm that goes down back here to the power switch. We'll take a look at that when we get to the look inside segment of the video. Here we have the screened exhaust vents to keep everything cool in the brains department. And speaking of the brains, we have our speed switch here, 6-speed. And as I mentioned before, clicks every half speed. When it comes to the power cord, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this if it focuses in, but that is SJT, which stands for Junior Service. This is a midline cord or mid-range, not expensive, not really cheap, but it is rather stiff because of the thermoplastic lining. There are softer ones, and I've also come across some harsher ones, stiffer ones as well. Makes it a pain in the butt when you're throwing the cord up over your shoulder, just something to be aware of. The unit does come with a handle that you can thread on either side of the unit, depends if you're left-handed or right-handed, but it does have a cupped grip up here, and you can slide your fingers and lock them in on the top of the unit as well. I normally don't have a death grip on the unit, so I don't put the handles on and just normally grip it like this with the thumb on top, applying pressure when needed. 8mm throw. The shroud has plenty of room, no need for a spacer on this one. It's not that type of a polisher to begin with. It's metal, and it comes with a 6-inch backing plate that is vented. Also comes with a 14mm wrench, slides right in between the shroud and the backing plate, lock it in, spin it, and that's how you remove the backing plate. And we'll do that when we get to the look inside segment. Overall length of the unit is just under a foot from the tip of the cupped handle here back to where the cord exits. Width of the unit, 87.4 mils. End height, working height, from the bottom of the backing plate to the top of the cupped handle, 141 mils flat. When it comes to the weight of the unit, just under 5.5 pounds. So, not a ton of pressure on your shoulders if you're working on a higher vehicle, on a larger roof, and you need to do some serious reaching. The unit's light, it's easy on you, and you could work it all day long. Always being mindful of the internals and the electronics. We're doing our teardown on an anti-static mat. When it comes to getting in to the electronics, we have 4 Phillips head screws. That's where we'll start. Okay, when we pull these two sections apart, we're always going to be mindful and be careful and pull them apart slow. You never know when a wire could be attached to one of the side pieces here. We don't want to pull anything apart and cause unnecessary damage. So, this is what I was talking about right here. If you could see it, GF30. So that means there is 30% glass fibers, GF. That makes for a nice sturdy casing, heavy duty, well made. When it comes to the switch and the overall PCB for speed, I don't know if you're going to be able to get in there and see, but it is coated. A coated PCB board is fantastic. Fights against moisture, heat, dust. You can see the dust that's working its way in to the unit. This unit is pretty old and has quite a lot of hours on it. Here is the nylon arm I was speaking of, which reaches back to a power on, power off switch. The power switch is 8 amp, so there is a decent amount of space for air. This is a stamped brass brush holder here, and that's pretty much standard on all these polishers. But what I like is the brush holder here is coil spring, and that does a great job holding it down, keeping it pressure on down to the motor itself. The wiring itself is a crimped on spade connector. The only thing missing that I see in higher quality polishers is the shrink wrap on top to protect it. Usually goes from about here to right on top of the spade connector. Something I like to see, but it's not a deal breaker. Other than that, the wire management is rather clean. Nothing else. I mean, here we have a crimp, but really nothing else is exposed or melted after all this time, and everything is still serviceable. That'll take care of the polisher that pretty much runs everything. So let's get this back together and flip the polisher over and take a look at the gear end. All right, backing plate is first. Slide in the 14 millimeter wrench. If you see what I'm doing in there, just holding that still, and we can spin the backing plate. There is a nylon spacer in there already, so that does help keep the backing plate away from the metal shroud. Okay, we have a 2-screw Phillips head holding on the machined counterweight. Another thing that I like to see in here, sealed bearings. That keeps the dirt and the dust from getting in there, breaking down, and having premature wear and tear on the unit. Slide it in there, just give it a little lift up, and then you could slide the cupped grip. All right, there you have the nylon 30% glass fiber cupped handle and the casing, and then the rubber grip on top. Some ribs in here to help the structure, the overall structure and strength of the cupped handle as well. Okay, so this is the locking pin here. locks it in, and then you can work on the backing plate or spin off the gears here. You've seen me do this plenty of times. Remove the shroud, take this off, and you get to the spindle gear itself and the gear, the lube. Definitely need to replace that. Get some high quality lithium moisture fighting high temp grease in there. Cuts down on noise, cuts down on the temperature, saves wear and tear on the unit. So we're going to pull these 4 screws instead this time and take a look at the rotor itself and the coil. Okay, now we can just very carefully pull this, and that will expose the fan and the coil and the bearing. And as I mentioned before, all the bearings on this thing are sealed from cup to cup. No dirt, moisture can get in there. And again, that's excellent to see. Another thing that's excellent to see is the coil itself has been dipped in a resin. See that shiny stuff down there? That not only keeps everything wound nice and tight, but keeps moisture out of there and reduces shorts. And that's done all over the place here. That's great to see. The one thing I don't like is the fan here is multi-directional. This thing can only spin one way, so why they have a multi-directional fan blade in here instead of one that is curved to give maximum airflow to the shaft here, I'm not sure about. But everything else here is machined nice, looks good, and something I want to discuss right here. What I really like is between the commutator and the windings, we have this epoxy. This is fantastic. This keeps everything wound nice and tight. The actuator is stamped and machined nicely. And again, everything in here is done just the way I like to see it. CMN bearings that are sealed. Yes, quality for the entry-level price. By the way, the epoxy is something you usually find on middle of the run all the way up to high-end polishers. And again, it's really good to see. Now, if we remove this plastic shroud, we could see the field windings. The one thing I don't like when we run into the thumb-operated switches is just look how close the switch gets to the field winding. Doesn't touch, but I am never comfortable having them there. And the field winding is also dipped in that resin. Very good to see. And you can see all the way down to the carbon brushes down there. As we can see here, all the lamination, it's worn. It's not new, but it still looks good. The only thing I don't like is a little bit sloppy on when they dipped it in the resin. You can see it out on the outside of the ring here, but no big deal. Okay, that's about everything there is to see. Carefully slide the rotor back in there. Just like when you're putting the lug nuts back on a wheel, you want to go a crosshatch pattern back and forth. It puts everything together quite nicely. We'll go back over here. And one more time, the last flip, put that back in there. And we can slide the cupped handle back on. All right, we have everything buttoned up really nice. Again, here's the power switch. A rather quiet, well, once you get the gear lube changed out, a quiet unit, very little vibration. You could put a 6-inch, 5-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch backing plate on here, and with the variable speed dial. a user-friendly unit. Where does this polisher fit in when it comes to the grand scheme of things? When it comes to power and cut, rotary. Then you can have a 15 or 21 millimeter. Below that would fit the 8 millimeter throw of this unit right here we're looking at. And below that, 3-inch polisher, and if you have a nano or 2-inch pneumatic. So that's where it fits in within the grand scheme of polishing. Now we're going to do a little bit of a demonstration on how would you use a machine such as this. A polisher like this being fine for enhancements or one-steps. You can team it up with a polishing pad, or my favorite, Eurofiber 50/50 pad. Team it up with something like DPC Flash, get an all-in-one done, get a one-step done with 3D1, prepare a panel for some type of protection with MEGS 83. Hey, you want to clean up a panel, get it ready for some protection, get some MEGS 83 on your pad. So here we've exfoliated the surface and it's ready for protection. Here we have sand marks, and yeah, you can absolutely do a little bit of correction with a unit like this. You can absolutely do a little bit of correction with this type of polisher. And for the final thoughts segment of the video, for $149, an entry-level polisher, a great way to get started, 8 millimeter throw. It's not going to get you into trouble. I still recommend grabbing a few panels, take them home, set them on horses, practice the DA, practice the rotary, practice some wet sanding. But at an entry level, this one here is quality made. It's at a decent price. Inside and out, it's slapped together where it's going to last for you for years and years. Hey, it doesn't matter if it's entry level or high end. They will all break down on you. They can. There's always a chance for any of them to break down. But if you're just starting out, there's no need to spend $500-600 for a polisher. Start out with something like this. If you feel comfortable and you want to move on to something more aggressive, or you have some more ambitious ideas and dreams, get a 15 millimeter throw, get a 21 millimeter throw, but don't forget about the rotary polisher. Brian from Apex Detail. If you don't have any questions, I'll catch you in the next video.